What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow Chart podcast with your boys, Matt Wolf and Joe Fear.
I'm curious, you mentioned there's kind of like a framework that sort of underlies all the different, modalities, I guess you could call them, of like, therapeutic education. Is there, like, what are some insights around that framework that you can share? Like, what were some of the patterns, the overlaps that you noticed between all of those different things?
Okay. So first, I'll ask both of you to do this. Just imagine in the last week, what's something that may have happened that didn't feel good. Maybe it was a mistake or brought up some sense of fear or sense of failure or something that just, could have gone better. And when you tune into that event, I want you to just feel into the sensation in your body. Like, what do you notice happening when you recall this unpleasant event?
I think I tense up a little bit. Yeah.
I get kind of more of a tightness in my stomach.
Yeah.
I would say.
Okay, good. Yeah. So this state is one that I call contraction, so this constrictive energy pattern. And for me, I talk about in the book how this activates our fight flight response. So when we're in this state, we're tense, our breathing is shallow, our options narrow, our perspective narrows. It's hard to see solution set. We feel very stuck in a perspective. And this, without realizing, is how a lot of people walk through the world, without realizing it. If you're thinking about the next problem to solve, if you're catastrophizing or thinking about worst case scenarios in your head, like so often my clients are like, I'm just imagining kind of the worst case scenario happening. Like it's like, it's not even the event. It's like after the event, they're still thinking about it and spinning on it. Right.
Yeah. Like,
so this
could have happened. Yeah. So they're even stressed about what could have happened that didn't happen.
Totally. And there's almost this sense of like a safety that comes with such vigilance of like, oh, as long as I'm preparing and impending doom generator, trying to in advance guess what might happen so I don't look stupid. Like this is where a lot of our minds are. And so this is the first state that a lot of clients find me in. And I find that all of their self solutions, like boot camp coach in their head, or gosh, I can't sleep, I'm constantly thinking about the problem. And then maybe I'll like go drink to unwind. Like all of these things actually just create poor health, poor sleep, more contraction in their system, and like a tight nervous system, as we talked about. Right. So Matt Kahn has a great quote that the ego is an imaginary identity of an overstimulated nervous system.
I love that. That's a very real, I can embody that. I've lived that many times over.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is like what characterizes, I think, kind of the state of the world right now, especially in the COVID period, especially in the uncertainty, especially in the unknown. Like we're all like kind of walking around super tight, like, oh no, is the other shoe going to drop? Right. So that's the first state. And as you can imagine, there's thoughts that create the state, there's emotions that create the state, and there's all sorts of limiting beliefs or shame stories or guilt or proving oneself, like your hustle and flow. I appreciate more of the flow piece of your title because, the hustle is really like, oh, I need to prove that I matter. I need to prove that I got something to give and offer in the world, right? There's this constant urgency. And truly, like when we have that time urgency, it really gets us into the scarcity mindset, which creates this contraction. So, okay, now I'm going to talk about the flip side. I want you guys to imagine an event this past week that really lit you up, where it felt like calm and amazing, happy. Maybe you were grateful that it happened. Okay, great. And when you tune into your bodies and your nervous systems, what do you notice?
I just noticed a smile go across my face as soon as I thought of the moment.
Same.
Yeah,
I just felt lighter all overall. It's like nervous system, like you said, is just chilled out.
Yeah.
Good. Awesome. Anything else like with your breath, or how do you know when your nervous system is calm? What does your body feel like?
So for me, definitely it's a breath thing. So if I'm short on breath, it usually, I stay chest breathing and less belly breathing. So when I'm chilled out, it's definitely like a lot deeper breath, and I feel like just everything is a lot more relaxed. Like shoulders aren't as tensed.
Yeah.
I'm not as just like, maybe I'm not like, my legs aren't crossed, and there's like a lot of things that are like tension, like that are just like, exactly.
I notice I carry tension up in my shoulders and neck. So if I'm like, anxious about something, like I get real tight up here. And then when I'm, happy about something, I feel these kind of areas loosen up and just kind of drop a little.
Yeah, you both feel more grounded. You both feel lighter. Good. Yeah. So this state is one I call expansion. And so one of the first questions is just, do you feel contracted or expanded right now?
And right now expanded, yeah. So basically you're kind of teaching folks how to feel their emotions, right? Like feel their internal states, so you can kind of figure out what your brain is doing and maybe look at things slightly different, right?
Right. So one of my beliefs is that our subconscious really lives in the body and our nervous systems. It's not just like in our mind, right? And like the body remembers what the mind may forget. And so I think a lot of books out there are really focused on creating like great mental discipline and let's uncover your limiting beliefs and let's clear it all and like tell yourself positive affirmations. I believe that if you have these deep beliefs that are held in your body level, sensations of insecurity, sensations of shame, sensations of fear, you can tell yourself, I'm amazing all day long, and it will feel like you're lying to yourself.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, it's like,
so,
who's that voice in there barking at me these lies? You're like, that's not true.
it doesn't pass your own like bullshit detector of your body, right? And so what the work that I do with my clients is like, okay, the mind's really important, but that's the tip of the iceberg. Let's also get you connected to the ideal optimal physical state to be in, the right emotional state to be in, so that you can really be in what we call peak performance or flow state or access to your supernatural abilities, or in what I say, really the state from which you can bend reality. And so in the state of expansion, how much access do you have to creativity, inspiration, solution set?
I think it's pretty much unlimited.
Yeah, infinite.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so in this state, we feel really good. We're inspired. We feel great. All these things, we trust more, you know, and therefore we're also thinking about like win-win-win solutions. So I really believe that one of the key meta frameworks, you know, I talked about is just being able to recognize where are you in this current moment? Do you feel contracted? Do you feel expanded right now? Are these thoughts creating momentum for contraction or expansion? Are these emotions creating contraction in my body? You know, just starting to really understand the mind-body connection. Because a lot of clients, and I'm sure in your world too, in the marketing world, are really analytical, very left brain, really intelligent. But because of that, they live in their head. And they don't really feel much going on in their body, right? So it's amazing that you do breath work. It's amazing when people do yoga, like all these things that allow us to connect more into our body. And so that is one of the key things. So I really believe that the more you spin in your head, the more is an indication that it's time to get out of your head and into feeling the sensations in your body. And like you said, the emotional processing. Because for a lot of us, you know, we don't realize, we like to pretend like emotions, you know, we're really stable and irrational and emotions aren't getting in the way. But the truth is, whenever there's conflict, whenever there's failure, whenever there's a difficult conversation, it is about your emotional intelligence and how well can you be with the emotional pattern that comes up, whether that's fear, anxiety, stress, you know, and I really believe, and I'm sure you do as well, which is emotion is just energy in motion in the body.
100%. Yeah.
And that's why you can't selectively numb negative emotions to only feel positive emotions. And so when my clients find me, they often are quite numb and like living in a very narrow bandwidth of reality where they're like, gosh, I have everything I ever wanted, but I don't feel it. Like I don't feel happy. Gratitude's sort of a mental concept in my head. I don't really feel it in my body. And they don't realize that, you know, they've been preparing themselves for the ups and downs of startup world by thinking that it's a superpower to be completely numb. Like, oh, I want to protect myself from the super low. So then I also don't really let myself celebrate when the highs are highs. And then they're kind of mildly depressed, you know, and they start to tell me like, I think I just don't have much dopamine. And they, you know, their mind wants to come to these scientific conclusions for what's happening. And I'm like, no, you just need to feel your emotions. Like you need to process your emotions, you know? So that is a huge part of what I teach in the book and what I teach to my clients is how can you use all emotions, even the unpleasant ones, as fuel for expansion.